I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on the no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% black all the time. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Man Listen Show. You can subscribe to the show on YouTube. Click that bell icon so you can be notified when a new show launches. Make sure you tell everybody about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Mark B. Let's bring the crew in. All right. Shout out to See and Laugh. So, Club Shay Shay. Shannon had Monique on the show. And, you know, they announced it. They announced it. They showed the previews, and everybody was like, oh, shit. Like, what's she going to say? What's she going to say? And it was like 2.5 hours. It was almost 3 hours show.
Yes.
3-hour show. Now, pro tip for those people who like, because some people are like, man, I can't just sit through 3 hours of somebody talking. You can actually speed up the playback. I do that when I listen to Audible. If I'm trying to like, you know, plow through content. You can do that for the Man Listen Show, even though our shows are much shorter. But Monique went on Club Shay Shay. And that's pretty much, I assume, most of the people who had already dug their heels in about their feelings about Monique, they stayed the same. But I will say, and because it's no surprise, I've been Team Monique when it comes to her grievances versus the gatekeepers. I've been Team Monique, right? But I was pleasantly surprised to see that there were more than a few people who said, you know what, after listening to the episode, I believe her and she's right. I don't think she's 100% right in everything that she does in life, and we'll kind of get to that a little bit later. But when you watch the episode, Arika, were you still firmly like, you know what, Monique, bye? I know you don't agree with the bonnets. But what do you think about her beef against the industry?
So I think that this kind of clarified for me a distinction between her position on things. So my position in opposition to her has always been her argument about the Netflix special. So I really didn't know too much about all of this with Oprah and Tyler Perry and Lee Daniels. Like I knew she had issues with them, but I didn't really know the details of it. So actually learning the details of everything that they were doing and that she had him on tape and everything, I'm like, hey man, that's it. But I never thought any of those people were quality people anyway. Like I know somebody who said you can't get to be a billionaire without stepping on some people. It's just impossible. And so, I mean, I get where she was talking about a lot of Black people like to champion for their heroes and whatnot, but those people were never heroes to me. I don't care about those people at all. I never thought Oprah was a great person or out here helping people or making waves for people or any of those other people. Tyler Perry either. I'm like, as bad as he be having them actors look in damn wigs, I knew he wasn't out there paying them folks. He is scrimping and saving everywhere he possibly can. So I definitely think that she made a lot of good points in regards to that. As far as like the other stuff about not getting paid, I agree that you have to, argue for whatever it is you're worth. And I think that she made some good points, but I still don't like the way she went about that Netflix special thing. So I don't like the way she went about it. I don't know why she keeps comparing herself to white women like Melissa McCartney and Amy Schumer. I don't know why she keeps doing that. But I mean, my position changed 100% on her industry beef. Like I didn't not believe her before, but I just didn't care enough to dive into it. And now I'm 100% on her side with that. So yes and no.
I'll address the point that you made about Tyler and Oprah and Lee Daniels. Lee Daniels flat out apologized, right? Mm-hmm. She had Tyler on tape And we've seen, with the recent Color Purple movie that came out, people talked about some of the greasy things that Oprah has done. I'll say this: I'm a fan of Game of Thrones. We're gonna lose our title as the Blackest Radio Show. I'm a fan of Game of Thrones, and one of the things that Game of Thrones sort of thrives on is the ambiguity between a character not being 100% bad or good. A character that looks good, they maybe have done some bad things, and vice versa. And I think that applies for Lee Daniels. No, I just think Lee Daniels is, from what I've heard of him, he's I won't call him scum, but whatever's like right above scum, I'll call him that. Tyler and Oprah, I think they do a lot of good for the community. It's been documented that they have done good for the community, but there's also some questionable things as well. And for Tyler, his treatment of Monique in this situation, I mean, it's not even questionable. It's wrong. And that's why because I've encountered it in corporate America, the gatekeepers that we see, especially as Black Americans, when we have other Black Americans who are put in positions where, hey, listen, you can reach back and pull us up. Too often we say, well, hey, this is how the game is played, and I need you to play the game or whatever. Like, no, that's not how it works. This is not how the other side does this. They don't say play the game, whatever. They say, no, we're going to pull you up. We're going to max you out. We're going to put you in positions to where you could thrive, even if you're not qualified, even if you are mediocre as you know what. But we are the only ones that don't play that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I always I felt like, even though I didn't like Monique's comedy, I said it before, and you guys gave me grief about it when I said, listen, I'm not the biggest fan of her comedy. I'm not. But her point is valid. And especially when it comes to, you made the point about comparing herself to white women. I mean, we see the pay discrepancy between Black women and white women. Mm-hmm. So to me, I feel as if that's a very valid point to make. People say, well, the white girl, what's her name?
Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer, she was, whatever at that point in her career. I don't think that discrepancy, the variance between what they were being offered, I don't think it was fair, and I don't think it was something that anybody should stand for. Because, like I've always said, in different situations that we talked about, they can do it to one of us, they can do it to the rest of us. So we need to be solid. We need to be unified when it comes to this type of thing. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just smiled, I'm Mr. I told you so. But a lot of people were just like, yeah, I believe her now. But Shannon, do you think Shannon pushed her enough? Or do you think a lot of people make comments about Shannon and they say he's not a good interviewer? I don't get that, because I feel like he's not a Barbara Walters, whereas he's going to like challenge and, poke and prod. He might not even be like a Gayle King or Oprah, but I think he does a good job of putting people on his platform, letting them speak, and somewhat letting them tell their truth. Mm-hmm. And if somebody comes on and say, hey, listen, just like when Kat said, hey, you got so-and-so on here, you need to have me on here so I can get my side of the story. Mm-hmm. And he ended up working like game busters for Kat. And Shannon, because Shannon got paid majorly off that interview. What do you think about Shannon and Club Shay Shay and his interview style?
Well, this isn't hard-hitting journalism. This is celebrity news. Right. So it's only so much you can do and make these, what she call them, tender folks comfortable sitting on your couch. Because we all know celebrities got these big egos, and if you make them feel uncomfortable, they're going to stop coming. So the whole atmosphere is comfortability. Relax, take your shoes off, tell your side of the story.
Have a drink.
I think, yes, I think he cultivates that atmosphere exceptionally. And I think that's why he's successful, because none of us are watching Barbara Walters or Gayle King. Like, we're not watching these people. Most of us have no idea what's going on in politics or around the world. So you're not getting a celebrity to sit on there and be grilled about the troubling things about their past. And I think the fact that he asks questions and opens it up to let them talk, they usually end up talking themselves into whatever it was they probably wouldn't have wanted to talk about anyway, because they usually end up hitting on trouble spots. Like she even ended up talking about her relationship with her son, probably more than she would have if he had pressed her about it, because then that would have put her on the defensive. So I think he has a good style to let people open up and share freely and willingly.
You know, and that's part of the reason why I side with Monique, because I feel as if there's sometimes people, I talked about Deion Sanders, and I said, Deion, the problem with Deion is he talks too much. And I feel as if Monique and her husband, I ain't finna call him daddy, but Monique and her husband, they borderline, they get to the point where they talking too much. You know, she admitted that, hey, and I'm summarizing, she wasn't the best mom to her older son. She, you know, put her career first, and it had an impact on their relationship. I think that is courageous to, you know, to say that, to be like, hey, listen, that's my accountability. I have to atone for that. And her son came out and he spoke about it. And I looked at his response to the interview, and he gave his side. And we all have, you know, adult children. He gave his side, and then Monique and her husband responded to it. And that's where I separate from Monique and her husband and how they're handling this young man. I'll say this. Sometimes you got adult children and they could be on some bullshit. You know, they're trying to, and I think everybody who has adult children knows this. They could be on some nonsense, and, you know, they have their side of the story, and then they get to talking, and you know, you're just like, hey, at some point, man, you're an adult now, and you're gonna have to build a bridge and get over it. I can try to meet you halfway and atone for what I did. But, you know, once we're both adults, then, you know, we need to make some decisions. We're not going to wallow in what happened. I wouldn't respond the way that Monique and her husband have, because I'm just not about to litigate my child or go back and forth with my child in the media. I'll go back and forth with other people, but that relationship with my child, yeah, I want to protect my reputation, and I'm only going to allow it to go so far. But I think that, and I think the main thing is that her husband is talking so much. Like, Monique, you know, you need to be the one saying, hey, this is what happened, son. This is what didn't happen. You're tripping, whatever, whatever. But when you got your husband, and it's weird because it's like he was friends with her first husband, the boy's dad, and, you know, you can't call me dad because I've always been Uncle Sid, but I'm the dad to your three brothers. It's strange. I'll put it like that.
Yeah. Like you said, I'm not going to litigate with my child. I'm a different type of mom. Everyone who knows me knows that I'm all over my children like white on rice. So you ain't got to build a bridge. I will build the bridge. I will go 100% of the way. Come over there and drag you back onto this side with me, because we gonna be together forever. like there's not going to be any type of division. You my world. Thank you. You're welcome. And that's it. So I'm not going to open my child up to public scrutiny to save myself in any situation, because if you're a mature adult, then you know what you did and you did not do. And if part of their healing process is venting in the public, like these children tend to do, show them a better way by not participating in that, because, you know, I mean, we're supposed to be providing a better example. So I'm not going to sit on here and be like, you wrong. That ain't right. That ain't what happened. No one cares, really. All that cares is that you and your child are being messy in the internet, and more so you. So now people are gossiping about you as a mother when their opinion of you as a mother doesn't matter. The only person whose opinion of you matters as a mother is your child. So either you're going to work on repairing that opinion, or you should shut up about it. Because if you don't care about it, and you shouldn't let that man come into your house and treat one of your children differently than the other ones anyway.
Right.
So if he can't call you daddy, ain't none of them calling you daddy.
You know, I think that there's a fine line, though. There's a fine line, because sometimes these kids can get out of pocket. They get out of pocket. They talk greasy. I'm not going to say that about Monique's son, because I could see from his perspective, it seemed as if he has worked on healing and coming to a place of peace with his relationship with his mother. Unfortunately, the mother wound that some people have is serious, and it eats some people alive. And I hate it for him because I was such a mama's boy, proud mama's boy. And a lot of the Black men I know are mama's boys. Sometimes that can be to their detriment. Sometimes, you got an outstanding mother like I had. She pushed me and pushes you to be better as a man. I hate it for him that he doesn't have a solid relationship with his mom. But, I was like, okay, well, it seems to be he's at peace with, whatever transpired between him and her, and say, hey, listen, we just gonna move on. And sometimes you gotta love people from afar. But we've seen situations where these children, they're grown people, they're grown men, grown women, can lash out to hurt their parent in the media, and then the mom and dad's like, hold on, wait a minute, I got a brand, I got a name, and what you're not gonna do is mess with that and say that I didn't do what I didn't do. So I see both sides. I would like to see Monique take the higher road, but I kind of understand if that makes sense. And I think that by her responding the way she did, whatever ground she may have gained in the court of public opinion with people who didn't like her, she probably just lost it right back with the way she responded to that. But it's clear that she's hurt too, though. It's clear that she has a mother wound. It's clear that, obviously she's been violated and, disrespected and taken advantage of by her family. And that interview showed to me that that's why she responds in the way that she does to these offenses from other people. I've always heard, like you said, people say, well, I just didn't like the way she went about it. But since when have we been able to tell people how to respond when they've been done wrong?
I mean, I get that, but at the same time, I can still have an opinion about your behavior. And then basically sat up there the whole interview and talked about how she'll come for people wherever they at. And if her and Oprah worked at Costco, they would be banging in the break room. But then your whole argument is that you're not difficult to work with. But you talking about fighting coworkers or cussing people out. You lucky my husband was in the meeting, because otherwise I would have said this, that, or the other. You seem kind of difficult.
She is from Baltimore.
Yes, but I'm difficult.
Like I know. Sometimes you have to turn over. I tell my son this all the time. Sometimes you got to turn over a table. And sometimes you got to be like, listen, you know what? I'm tired of you fucking with me.
Yes.
And we finna just handle this. But
if somebody was to come out and say Arika is difficult to deal with in certain situations, I'm going to be like, they're probably absolutely right. Have a nice day.
But
I am difficult.
That wasn't true though.
But that's what I'm saying. But she came out, she's saying that she said in the interview that she can be aggressive in meetings, and that people should be happy that her husband is there because he's the calm one and he's direct, because she would this, that, or the other. Well, that makes you sound difficult.
I don't remember that part.
She was like, who was it? Tyler Perry wanted to meet with her, but not with her husband. And Shannon, I think, asked her, why did she think that other people felt more comfortable meeting with her without her husband? And she was like, I don't know, because they should want him in the room because he's calm and direct, and, he can get me together. Me, I'm, more aggressive, and I'm going to meet you wherever you had me fucked up at, or something like that. And I was just like, you're not wrong. That is exactly.
But I don't think that makes you difficult to work with, though.
But if you come into a meeting and you say something I don't like, and then I get aggressive, and then your opinion is that you don't like dealing with me because I can get aggressive, that's your opinion. I can't take that from you. So you can't say both things. You can't say I can get aggressive if I think you're doing wrong, and say you're not allowed to think that working with me can be difficult. Now, did he spread the rumor falsely to undermine her career? Yes, he already admitted that. That's proven. But what I'm saying is, you can't necessarily say that other people can't have an opinion about you while you're saying and agreeing that you have some problematic behaviors. She said he grew her up. She was a 15-year-old girl when he met her. So you was a 15-year-old girl in these meetings and on these shows and in these contract negotiations. The difference between 30-year-old Arika and 40-year-old Arika, maturity wise, is astronomical. The things I have let slide out of people's mouths, sometimes I sit and reflect on it. I'll just be like, look at you. You let her say that crazy stuff and it didn't even bother you. But so
I don't know, Arika. Maturity in okay, I agree. I can agree with that. Maturity normally transcends all phases of your life. I'll agree with that. But I think some of that may be experience in terms of maybe I'm operating off of survival when it comes to my relationships,
mhm,
but I'm about my money when it comes to business. I mean,
mhm,
I'm single in these streets. Okay. So I know a lot of women who are a boss in their corporate, in their careers.
mhm.
They're a boss in their careers. They handle business, manage multiple people. I mean, they just phenomenal. Now, their relationships with dating, with the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever, with their family is a hot mess. So by that theory, we used to say, okay, you got together business wise, you should be able to have it together with your relationships. And often that don't really match though.
But I challenge that statement because a lot of times people only tell us about the highlights at work. They don't tell you about when they make mistakes or when they get called down to HR or when their tension at work is because they have these poorly built relationships. They don't get on social media and talk about that. So we really don't know what people do well at work. That's why I hate talking about work in public because people be like, "Oh, I did this, I did that, I did this." Yeah, what happened last week? Like, you know what I mean? Everybody experiences highs and lows at the office. So outwardly, these people may look like bosses, but those same behaviors that they're exhibiting in their personal life could possibly persist in their professional life as well. It's just not as apparent because we're not in that corporate or business atmosphere with them.
I'm gonna give her a pass too though, because I've been in situations where, the white boy who's direct and, I'm gonna tell him how it is or whatever. And he's a pit bull when it comes to negotiations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, the white girl who just like, hey, she doesn't cut anybody any slack. And then you got the black girl who she's angry. She's
Right.
angry. You know, the black dude, if I respond in the same way, then I'm threatening.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many times, because I'm 6'3" and a big dude, I've actually had this, and I, intentionally was being nice to a new team. I was transitioning to a new team, and it was there was a lot of discontent amongst my old team because we felt like discontent a word. There's a lot of unhappiness about us being moved, our team being split up and moved to a different departments. And I wanted to be over the top and let people know, hey, listen, I'm good, I'm welcoming, I'm going to be a team player because at that point, I really wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the manager of the team come to me and we're talking on a one-on-one. And he was just like, we know like people are intimidated by it. And I'm like, why? Like, for what reason? I always answer my phone. I'm super helpful. What's intimidating about me? And he's like, well, you know, you're a big guy, and I'm like, what the fuck does that got to do with my corporate presence? What does that have to do with me as a person?
Mm-hmm.
That's like me saying, oh, because of your size or because of your disability or whatever, I can
Mm-hmm.
treat you a certain way. So I guess I'm sensitive to the fact that, you know, sometimes you can be dogged in your corporate personality. Now you got to accept the repercussions. And I think
Right.
Monique is having to accept some of those repercussions, just like when she said, hey, listen, I took 50,000 to do Precious. took 50,000, and I'm not mad about that because I made the decision to do that. I took 50,000, but I'm not gonna do nothing else unless you pay me. Now, she was right in my personal opinion. She's like, I'm not working for free.
Mm-hmm.
She's right. But what is she having to do now? She's having to suffer the repercussions.
Yeah.
Fair or foul? My opinion is foul, especially since she was dealing with Black people. I expect this from, Hollyweird. I expect this from other people, the other side. But when you have our people do that to you, I see why she's, so disappointed and hurt. And then you think about how much money she lost out of, because she's a phenomenal actress. I know last time we talked about this. I can't remember the last time. One of the times we talked about this, y'all tried to shade her. Monique is a phenomenal actress. For real, for real. She is. She's a great actress. Her comedy, not my cup of tea. But she's got a strong following, right? She's got a strong following.
She does.
And when you talk about her being screwed over, the Parkers, when she talked about that, she was like, "How you gonna tell me we ain't make no money? We ain't make no money." And then come to find out, yeah, they did make money. You owe the folks money, and her and Countess Vaughn was like, "Yo, pay us our money."
Yeah.
And I think we make a mistake because we don't like somebody. She talked about, and I think I said this before. She talked about Claudette Colvin.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, Claudette Colvin was the first Black woman who was like, "Nah, I'm not going to the back of the bus."
Mm-hmm.
But according to the gatekeepers, right, she had some problems. I think she had a baby out of wedlock or whatever. She was dark skinned. She's a little chubby, I believe, right? And then you got Rosa Parks, light skinned. She looked like a better representation in their eyes. And I definitely believe, that that's the case with Monique. Her whole I don't like skinny B words and all that. People don't like her for that. She is a big woman. Like she said, big woman, big feet. And then you got Taraji come out, light skin. You know, some people may say a little bit easier on the eyes. I think Monique's an attractive woman. Um, and then people are like, oh man, look how broken Taraji is. So I can see why Monique would be like, well, damn. But I said it, I wasn't shit. But now she said, it's a problem.
But I liked her point about that society likes to see Black women broken. They don't like to see them standing strong. So I think that distinction is an important distinction between her and Taraji. Now, for sure, it's the messenger. They just don't want her to be the messenger. It's easier not to like her. And it's also easier to feel sympathy for somebody who's crying and begging you for help as opposed to someone who's demanding it from you. Because I'm demanding that you give me the respect I deserve. If I'm crying and weeping and shit, I'm asking you. That's a different conversation.
What have we learned? That you're not going to get it either way. So you might as well keep your self-respect and dignity.
Might as well.
What have we learned? Because it wasn't just Taraji. Wasn't it like Gabrielle Union and them making that? I'm a Black actress in Hollywood. Of course, this, that, and the other. And then Tracy Ellis Ross. She was talking about how she was getting underpaid in all these different things. So you remember I brought that up, and I was like, okay, well, why do y'all didn't stand behind Monique? And again, it's the messenger. It's the messenger. Some people don't like it. She doesn't speak to their sensibilities. She's Baltimore through and through, and it just doesn't work for some people. I think that we as a Black community have to get over that. We have to get over, okay, I may not like this person, I may not like this messenger, but for the greater good, for all of us, we need to come on board. And I hate comparing us to other people, but I have to because I think every other demographic, they're able to do it. They're able to hold their nose and say, hey, listen, we don't like Trump. Yeah, we're evangelistic Christians, and this motherfucker got, divorced 3 times, had raping chicks, and he's scum of the earth. But guess what? He's gonna advance our cause. So we can hold our nose and vote for him. Other people, I think that we need to get to that point, and I don't understand why we don't.
Where we support messages more than the person delivering the message.
Yeah.
So I think that her point about being for truth, I respect that because that's a firm ground to stand on, being about truth and whatever's, the truth, and that's what she's for. I respect that. So, I mean, it's like at least if she's saying something, then you could depend on it. And I can't stand liars. So,
Yeah.
and like I said, I never really dove too deep into her industry beef. So I never thought she was lying about anybody in the industry because I mean, why would you lie? Like you said, it's highly weird. They all weird to me. But
And I ain't with DL Hewley, and we talked about it before that, the beef they have between one another. Obviously, they just don't like one another. But I'll say this. DL, you fat shaming the woman. You are angry in your response to stuff. I get when people say you can't have it both ways. Because we talked about how when Kat came out against, Said and Steve and all of them, I was like, well, they really didn't say nothing. But then DL came out, hard against Monique. And he protecting his name, his brand. He has a right to do so. But I think as men, there's a certain way that you handle, and it's not fair, but it's life. Listen, I believe in gender roles, and with gender roles, shit ain't fair all the time. Back to Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels said a lot of stuff, right?
when were we on him?
We talked about him. We talked about Kevin
I
Samuels.
know, but you said back to him, I was like, what?
Okay, but I'm gonna bring it together. I'm bringing it
Okay.
together. Kevin Samuels. I say 95% of what Kevin Samuels had to say was the truth. His delivery and his tone with the women that he talked to made it to where you couldn't accept it. And I feel as if, and I say that because we as men have a responsibility in how we handle women and it may not be fair, but it just makes it seem like you look even more greasy, DL, by the way you responded to Monique.
Handle women, that's a strong statement, but I
How's that
think
a strong statement?
because I mean, I think the problem is it should be more interacting with women, not handling them. You don't need kid gloves to
Okay,
talk
you
to.
know what I mean.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. That's a strong statement. We got to reel that in. But I
And
think that he probably did have a message that people needed to hear in the beginning. But the first time he went off on somebody, it became entertainment. He's looking for followers and subscribers. So he's going to say and do what's necessary to attract that following and that. So it's entertainment. So I take all that with a grain of salt.
let me ask you this before we go. So Shannon Sharpe, there's a lot of people who they got to beef with Shannon because they're like, hey, listen, you went from interviewing folks and it being, somewhat feel good to being messy. Do you think Shannon has a responsibility to try to clean up what Club Shay Shay has become? Or do you think that he's on point with giving Black celebrities a platform to speak their truth, to tell their story? And does he need to change anything?
I think the fact that he's given people an opportunity to come on and respond to things that have been said about them, that's not messy. People have issues. And like you said, where else are they addressing these issues? And it's celebrities. Like
And
who
I mean, they're able to tell their
yeah,
story and
their truth. And
control their narrative, whereas in the past we have not been able to do that.
right. And but this is not Gaza. This is not like world peace. This is literally just celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
So these people have a platform. The platform is working for them. It's entertainment. I wish he would just do a highlight reel. A good strong 1.5 hours, I might be able to make it through. I don't think I've made it through a whole 3 hours in one of these interviews yet. I hope all the good stuff is at the beginning because I've missed all this stuff at
Well,
the end.
he puts the highlights out. He'll break it in. That's part of the podcast game. We probably need to get on that too. They break out highlights or whatever. I don't have a problem with Shannon. I think he has good intention. I think it's good for us to be able to tell our story, control our narrative. My problem with Shannon though is like Mike Epps. you know, him and Mike Epps, they got into they beef, or they was talking about shit. Well, you gonna see me, you know, and Mike Epps talking about, well, shit, I ain't gonna fight you, you know, and made, you know, alluded to not throwing hands and, you know, doing something else, you know, violent. And then they finally admitted, hey man, you know what? That's not what we need to be doing. We need to be more grown about this and have a talk. And Mike Epps is full of shit, because like Mike was mad because nobody was mentioning him. He was mad that Cat didn't mention him. So he said, well, damn, I can't get no notoriety. I got a special coming out on Netflix. You know, let me try to create some drama so I can get some free press for my upcoming special, which was so obvious, right? Which is, you know, that's the playbook now, right? Let's create some drama, and then that way it'll add to what I'm doing. But I'll say this. I had a problem with Shannon with that, because, you know, remember he did that with the young boys at the Lakers game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, you know, on the court talking about, you know, what's up, you know, doing all this. And remember laughing, I said, like, bro, as an older man, you don't need to be doing that, dude. That's something that we did as young men. Now, I understand standing on your square, and I think Mike was wrong. You mad at Shannon because he didn't have you on the show. You mad at Shannon because they didn't talk about you. So now you want to question his sexuality, and you know that's the third realm. You know that's going to trigger a response from Black men. And Shannon's first said, well, you know, I don't chase a lie. Because, you know, they talked about him, you know, with white girls or whatever. But to me, I think that's where Shannon probably could do better. I don't think he needs to change up having people on and telling their story, because sometimes that gets messy. And I think in the Black community, the reason why we haven't advanced more, one of the reasons why, other than white supremacy, let's put it there. White supremacy is why we haven't advanced more. But one of the mistakes that we are making is that we sweep too much under the rug. We don't talk about it. There's probably Oprah and Tyler, they probably had to do a lot of free work.
She talked about that too. So
they probably had to do a lot of free work. They probably were taken advantage of. So then when it came down time for Monique to do it, they was like, what you talking about? Motherfucker, that's what we had to do, right? But guess what? Maybe they couldn't have back in the day, because they didn't have podcasts. They didn't have Club Shay Shay where you could just, you know, speak your truth, right? And not worry about somebody twisting in the media. But at some point, somebody's got to do it, because we don't want to see Taraji broken like that.
No.
I don't want to see Monique questioned, because it's like, okay, your relationship with your husband, the people picking her apart, and we all are pitted against each other, because Monique has been polarizing. Either you with her or you're not. And it's been and we don't need anything that's going to polarize the Black community anymore. But now that she has spoken about this, I firmly believe that going forward in the future, the history books are going to be on Monique's side, and we're going to be like, you know what? She was right. She was right.
Shit, she got the receipts.
Right. That being said, I think we talked about it enough. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X at manlistenshow. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon, and we'll have you next time. Shout out to See You Laugh. Peace.